it's about what is good for everyone. So with that being said, what I've come to is the conclusion of serendipitous events. And it definitely starts with a lot of like, wow, I wish it was something different. I wish I didn't have this happen. It was just a lot of like regret. Not because of people, but because of myself. I can be hard on myself sometimes, and I'm not saying that to say that everyone needs to be hard on themselves. It's just something that I'm weak in. It's hard for me to have a lot of grace for myself. But basically what happened was, and this is, I guess, starting with the 21st of March. But you know what? I might have journaled it earlier. And what I journaled was about how I quit volleyball. And me quitting volleyball wasn't necessarily because I was tired of exercising. Although I'll be honest, yeah, I was tired of doing consequences, but it wasn't just that. It's just the fact that I'm over here showing up at practice, but then I can't perform because I'm so not in shape. And then at the same time, because I'm this person who can be so useful because I'm tall and all this stuff, I can jump a little bit more. It's like I can't meet people where they want me to be at, but I want to meet them there. But because I'm not doing anything outside to say that, it's almost like I'm being a hypocrite. And that's when I realized that I don't understand true commitment, that I only understand it surface level. And I think a lot of people do, but I, for one, definitely only had surface level understanding of commitment. And yeah, so that was the first serendipitous moment that wasn't really happy-go-lucky and far as the string of events here, okay? This past week. Now, the people who I gave up on, I guess you could say, it wasn't them that I was giving up on, it was, and I'm not trying to make this this is my case for why it was okay that I quit. No, I'm not saying that. In fact, what I journaled actually was, if I knew that this is what commitment was, then I would have quit a long time ago, because I know that I cannot give that much of myself to volleyball in comparison to the other things that I am committed to. I'm at 16 minutes. Anyways, so yeah, so that was the first event where truth was revealed, something good was revealed, which is the truth of what true commitment is. It was revealed through me sort of embarrassing myself, because I was one who I told the captain, actually. I told her, yeah, you want to be committed because we're as your teammates, we look to you, so you really have to be committed. And then there's another time where I said, I'm committed because my teammate said this on day 2 of tryouts or day 1 of tryouts, that commitment is what they're looking for more than anything. So it's like, here I am saying commitment, but then I realize what true commitment is, and I can't do it anymore. And I have to say, yeah, as much as I believe in commitment, I don't think I truly understood what that was. So it's like I really had to humble myself, and it wasn't fun. I felt like, and not even me feeling, they were honest, they were saying that I'm pissed, I'm so angry, and I hate when people are mad at me, especially when I'm trying to do the right thing. I hate it, but I had to put myself aside for the sake of valuing what I think is more important, which is what true commitment is. And all I could do, at least, was voice what I believe true commitment was, and admit that I could not meet that criteria in volleyball. That's all I could do. I couldn't make myself sound good. There was no way. There really wasn't. And that's not what I was trying to do when I was talking to them, and I really hope that that's not what they picked up from that. But I was just trying to explain to them what true commitment is, because the way I look at volleyball, the way I look at anything that I give myself over to completely, is the way I want to live my life with anything I touch. Not just volleyball, but with school, and not just with philosophy, but also with people I just meet. Like, if I'm if I'm committed to making them happy, or if I'm committed to showing them what is real, what is right and stuff, I don't want to be committed halfway. And that's how it is. As a Christian, you cannot be committed halfway. I don't want that. I don't want to be a hypocrite. So yeah, serendipity, it can be humbling, it can be humiliating, it can be embarrassing, and it can be just nothing that includes self-elevation, self-glorification, glorifying, sorry. But ultimately, serendipity will always lead to the good and the truth. And obviously the way I'm talking, you know what that good is and that truth is, at least from my understanding of it. So yeah, that was the first thing that happened. Then on Tuesday, which might have been the 21st now, where I journaled, on Tuesday, I journaled about, I definitely found out a lot of things about selfishness and selflessness or something like that. I can just read this. A list of things that I don't want to forget. Breaking the chain from people. So that was me saying that people should not dictate me, but truth and good, what is good, is what dictates my life. 2, it's okay to not be the dumb force everywhere I go. Oh, okay, so this must have been on Wednesday. The 21st was a Wednesday. I know this because number 2 was referring to the philosophy club meeting that I was in, and I really just wanted to see philosophy club flourish in the way that I envisioned it. And sometimes I take it so personally when people don't take my ideas, and it's like, no, take my ideas, mine is good, you know, like, I can be very dominating that way, in the way, in my attitude, but for me, it was like a big step I overcame, that I don't need to dominate in everything that I do, and it doesn't have to always be me. So that was a big step for me. Number 3, seeing the role of blank, because like I'm not saying the name anymore. I'm not gonna say the name yet. I don't know when I'm gonna say the name, but the name I'm referring to is just this kid that I really like. Cause I don't think I'll ever stop liking him, or maybe it's just the idea of liking him. Not the idea of liking him, but the idea of him that I like. I don't know, but this kid is just always in my mind. And I don't know how long that will be for me. Anyways, I don't want to get too off topic. So seeing the role of, let's have a code name for him, yes? Okay, code name will be, I want it to be, so the code name I'm actually using is not, then it would give away too much. No, it's okay. The code name is Amicus, okay? So, seeing the role of Amicus played in my life for much more than what I needed when I needed it. And by the way, the what I needed when I needed it is something that I've talked about in the p+log when I was on private. I put a lot of those videos on unlisted just because I wanted to really just focus on what I'm saying, not who I'm saying it to. So that's why now these p+logs, they can be completely transparent. Like, I'm not really thinking, oh, how am I hurting someone's feelings? Like, yeah, I'm a little bit more thoughtful before I do these p+logs, because I don't want to just say something and I don't even think it through, and then I'm like, okay, actually I regret saying that, just because it was like not really combed out and refined. But back then I was much more emotional, and I was much more about what people thought about me. But these p+logs that are obviously on public, you can watch this video, they're a lot because they're a lot more bold because I've let go of that people pleasing. Not completely, of course. I mean, it's just recently that I'm saying that the chain of people has been broken, and I think there's several chains. I think there's the people pleasing because I want them to look at me good, and then there's the chain of I want people to listen to me because I'm saying things that are good. there's so many chains when it comes to people, you know. But yeah, it's just there are many chains that have been broken when it comes to people, and I'm sure that there's still more, or that will reattach themselves at times. But yeah, but me talking about what I needed when I needed it, I've talked about before, and I might get to talk about it again, because that video I do say his name, because once again it wasn't for people to see. So I would I would talk about that topic, just not necessarily with his name, so I would have to remake it. So yeah, a lot of these points that I wrote were because I wanted to talk about it later, but then I didn't, because then there's something else that I learned. Yeah, there's just so much that I learned that really comes from personal experience, and it comes from me observing and analyzing those experiences rather than just letting them happen and feeling sorry for myself. These experiences, I feel, reflect a lot of the human experience, but because I'm not someone who acts upon everything that I feel or that I see, it's so much more internal and intangible. Like, I've never dated, so for me to talk about love may seem abstract, but because it's still real, even if it's not acted upon, that's why I feel my experiences, they can be somewhat universal, just because they still happen even if I'm not acting on it. But yeah, so those are a lot of these that I've listed have to do with the experiences that I have, and then comparing it to the truth that I believe in, of course. And I'm referring to my Christianity when I say that, by the way. Not my Christianity, but when I refer to Jesus Christ when I say my truth. My truth is Jesus Christ, the life and the philosophy that he lived. So, let me see what this one's about now. Oh, and then I want to read this because this will come back later. I mentioned about social contract theory and how it's related to the moral salt, sugar, and fats of us as humans. And I say the moral salt, sugar, and fat because something that Mr. Gillespie knows, he always says this. He says that humans, we all crave fat, sugar, and salt. And these things, they may not necessarily be good for us, but we crave it. Like, we love it so much. So, he said that. He's always said that in class. But there's something that he said in philosophy club. He said that as humans, we crave violence and we crave sex. We always want it. And I didn't have a response real quick because I just wanted to think about it. And that's something that is different in the way I am, by the way. Just a quick tangent. There are times when if something is said or someone says something, I feel the need to immediately comment. Even on YouTube, I would feel the need to immediately comment and give my 2 cents. Even if it's something that might change, it's like I want to share where I am at the moment that I see this. And but lately I would be a little bit more like methodical and more slow to do those things, because it's like, what's the point really? Like, just think about it a little bit more. If I say it too quickly, then I might not give myself time to think about it myself. So yeah, so he said that in philosophy club that we crave, as humans, we crave violence and sex, but I was just thinking about it. And it was just kind of, I guess, in my subconscious. But I didn't really have an answer for that for a long time. Until like Friday or Saturday. So either Friday or yesterday. But anyways, that was a question that I had on Wednesday, as early as Wednesday. Now we're on Thursday, because it's the 22nd. Oh, and I journaled at 6:30 a.m. Wow. Sometimes I put the time that I journal because I journal so much now. And I'm going to see what I wrote here. Yesterday, between the last time I journaled and before I went to bed, I added something variable. Oh yeah, so I mentioned something about that a beautiful game of basketball is something that is completely selfless, but it does not mean it's selfless in everything that is done. So that illustration came, just remember to figure out. Oh yeah, and then I had a dream where I was upset. I'm not saying everything. I do filter what I say on here, because a lot of this stuff is way too personal. Anyways, there was something I wanted to say. Oh yeah, it's the whole selfishness. Oh yeah, the selfishness and selfish paradox. Sorry, the selfishness and selflessness is what I should have written, but I put selfishness and selfish. There's a time I wrote like that in my my testimony. I said, God must hold God values above, and I meant to say I must hold values above myself or something, but I put God. And it was just funny, like sometimes I'm not, when I write, I don't write correctly. Like I'm not thinking when I write, I have an idea of what I'm writing. Does that make sense? Yeah, so I mentioned about the selfishness and selflessness paradox, and how funny it is to be accepting of a paradox. And then I mentioned how Gillespie brought up a paradox, a moral paradox, which is about self-interest. And then there's Kierkegaard's paradox of the authentic self that I mentioned, that I learned actually in philosophy through film. And how, okay, so what I was saying here was paradox is something that has become so prevalent this past semester, this spring semester. And that word, though, I have a list. Don't know if I've said that before, but I have a list of things that start with a P. And but one thing I haven't said was that what would be on that list. Paradox would be on that list. But the reason I put paradox on that list was because of my own personality. I thought that my personality is such a paradox because I can be an extrovert, but I also like to be an introvert. And that's something that is characteristic of ENFPs, and from what I've been watching, because I've been watching a lot of personality videos like in the last 2 weeks, almost to an obsession, which is bad. I need to cut back. But I've been, I first came to the idea of paradoxes being acceptable and not necessarily contradictory when I realized that I am a living paradox in the aspect of being an extrovert and introvert. Of course, now I realize there are a lot more parts of me that is a paradox and a living contradiction, but that was where it first manifested and made it to my list. But it's just so funny because the truth is about paradoxes is that they aren't necessarily contradictions. They're different and opposing at the surface, but when you dig deeper, the relation is truth. It's based on truth. It's not like they disagree fundamentally. So that's what I like about paradoxes. Now let's see what else I wrote here. I'm definitely looking forward to discovering more paradoxes, yeah, of the universe for myself. Although another thing, sorry, is that really what to give my professor something? My time with more attaining credits. Oh yeah. So this is me talking about how I really want to give things to my professors, because me being at NLC for such a short time, let's see where I'm at 33 minutes. Wow, I'm gonna have to cut this stuff up. Anyways, my time at NLC is it's gonna be pretty brief, and it's really sad as far as the connections I'm making. It's with the professors more than the students, who they might go to another university or they might go to the same university as me, which at this point, no, I've not met anyone who's going to Baylor, but as far as the professors, they are somewhat stuck. Not they're chained down, but because they've chosen to be committed, and I think truly committed, to working at NLC. But I really want to show them that yes, being here has been such a great experience and a blessing to me, even that I don't want to just leave with my credits. I want to give something to say I appreciate even your time and your energy being spent on me when it's not just in class, if it's just in office hours and stuff. So yeah, that's what I was talking about there. And then I said the only professor I got close to was probably Dr. Wild, which was him kind of prying. But this is, by the way, at Baylor. He was my linear algebra and Cal 3 professor in the spring semester of 2017. Wow. But yeah, he was concerned, and he could have just been someone who was like watching out, you know. But he was probably the only professor who I really feel was concerned about me at Baylor. I'm sure that other ones were too, but I really felt like he was more concerned. The only other professor I got close to, the friends I was making, can't really compare them to my relationship with my professors, except for Amicus, of course. Amicus is the code name. He was someone who, when I was at Baylor, I think I connected to the most. For beneficial things, like, and I'm not, let me just say it. This might be TMI, I don't really care, you came to my channel, but I've never had sex before, and this Amicus person, as much as I've connected with him deeply, it is not because of sex at all. And that's what I think is so unique about this boy. So yeah, can't really compare to my relationship with my professors. What my professors and Amicus have in common is that they make me feel free to be myself. Very true. The realization I came to yesterday with the conversation was that Amicus, whether he is to be my life forever. But yeah, what I was saying here was that people who I really connect to are the people who allow me to get to who I am, even if I'm in the way from, like, okay, this is me, and this is the real me. But here's also parts of me that block me, okay, from getting to myself. My professors, they punched through that, they helped me get here. Amicus, he punched through that, he helped me get through here. So that's what I'm talking about here. But yeah, I say a lot in here, but maybe one day I'll publish my journals when I'm dead, so people could know exactly what I'm talking about. Because, I mean, in my career, I think I will become very transparent about the things that I'm hiding right now. Not really hiding, but keeping from you guys. But right now, it's not appropriate. It's not necessary. And then I said another thing Arletta shared was the quote from Arrow about how Buddha, that pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. That's true. And then it made me think of The Struggle by 10th Avenue North. Yeah. But pain is important. Pain is something to pay attention to, yep. Amicus relieved me from pain. The pain of me being afraid to be myself. I kept picking at it and made it into a whole thing. I'm so glad I met Amicus when I did, because it goes beyond me needing a friend when I needed it. It really does. Amicus, when you realize that this video is about you, or when you realize that this is you that I'm talking about, I just hope you realize that your life, your energy is much more than just this person's in my life, but it doesn't really make that much of a difference, because it made a difference to me, as short of a time as it was. It's a big difference in my life. But yeah, so And then what I wrote here was, it definitely took 2 pecans to get to 1. I just hope we can have a pecan to get through to him. Because I feel like he doesn't know. I feel like he doesn't know about his value yet, so that's why I wrote that. Wow, I ended up talking about amicus before even fully being awake. Because remember, this journal started at 6:30 a.m. Now, here's more journaling from that same day. Now this is me bringing up Euthyphro's dilemma, which has to do with if God likes the good, or if what is good is because God likes it. And that, of course, is a damn if you do, damn if you don't kind of situation. But then, of course, and this is something that Mr. Gillespie brought up in class, but in a private conversation that he was having with a student after class was dismissed, he said, but the third option, of course, would be that if God is good, then this is a false dilemma. Ooh, Chantel has her hair crazy. I like your hair. She's so cute. Huh? No, I'm talking to the camera. Right here.
Right there.
Yeah.
You talk about.
You can get up. There you go. There you go. There you go. Okay, she needs help.
See, I'm the trampoline.
Oh no! We can't make this fall. We can't make this fall.
Oh, oh my God.
So yep, this is Chantel, my cousin. She's breaking the rules now. But it's okay. Anyways, I'm gonna keep talking while she's here to have fun. But yeah, the false dilemma. No, don't stop it. Don't stop it. Now Sandra's here. Oh, she doesn't want to be here. Alright, Chantel, go back. You've been called. You've been called. Oh, don't make this. Well, she's making the camera fall. That's more of the problem. Okay. So I'm going to continue. So yeah, the Euthyphro thing presents a false dilemma because of the fact that that from where I'm at, I believe that God is good. He's not subjected to the good, and he's not arbitrarily choosing good. He's very on it. And it's so funny that once again that I have been having this train of thought even when I've come to the conclusion about once again what came on Friday or Saturday, which was yesterday. It's just so funny because this in fact adds on to what I'm saying. It adds on to what I came to yesterday. So anyways, let me continue. Okay, I still believe this stuff, but I want to know it scripturally, and that is true. Like, I believe this stuff, but I don't know it scripturally. So, no comments, please. No comments, please. She has such long hair. So I said in yesterday's journal I would email Mr. Gillespie about the salt, sugar, and that we crave. The moral salt and sugar, of course. But I ended up reflecting about it. I connected it to the social contract theory. Bro!
The new episode post Carl's death is on right now.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. Asking why social contract theory is keeping us from these basic... Yeah, this was it. So, I was asking the question, why does social contract theory keep us from the sugar, salts, and fats, the moral sugar, salts, and fats that we crave, that being the violence and the sex? And of course, it's kind of easy to see why the social contract theory keeps us from violence, because life is to be preserved. But morality isn't all just about life, of course. It's also about the good life. It's about living the best good life. It's not just about living. It's not just about surviving like Mr. Fox does. But it's about living the good life good. So, sex. Why does the social contract theory keep us from a certain amount of sex, or a certain type of sex, or a certain way to experience sexuality? Like, even though the social contract theory doesn't really go into all that, but I was more thinking about how Christianity has that social contract theory embedded into it, of course, but with more. So it's like, why would the social contract theory keep us from sex and such? And then why does the Bible, why does God keep us from certain types of sex and so on? I was asking that question because I didn't know. I didn't really think that because AIDS, God doesn't wants to keep us from AIDS. Well, if that was true, then I'm pretty sure that the men of Athens would have been dead, because they were A-okay with sex, same sex for one. The only thing they had a problem with was pedophilia, from what I understand. But they weren't against a lot of types of sexual living, I guess. But yeah, so I was thinking about, yes, the social contract theory, but also for myself. There's a bird. Not just for myself, but also for no, it's gone. But also for in the Bible, you know. So that's why I was asking that question. I wanted to see if he had an answer. To this day, I don't think he's emailed me. I remember when I came to my conclusion yesterday, 45 minutes in. Wow. When I came to my conclusion yesterday, he did not email me back. So either he hasn't gotten the time to think about it, even though he's at least seen that I turned it in, because it is graded for, or he just really wants to think it through. Which can be Mr. Gillespie. He doesn't want to just say things just because, you know, he thinks things through. So basic time for human beings. Okay, that was the last part of me. I usually don't journal about reflections because I take pictures of them before turning them in. But I forgot to take a picture. I think it was because of the pressure of people and I was writing. I was hashtag rattled, hashtag shook. Lastly, I read Romans 8,